Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt the weight of unspoken words, the tension hidden beneath fake smiles, the energy trying to mask insecurity and envy? You didn't hear it, you felt it. And it wasn't just a feeling, it was a knowing. You didn't need anyone to tell you what was going on. Your spirit had already translated the truth before your mind had time to catch up. This isn't paranoia, this isn't overthinking, this is intuition. And if this is your experience, let me make something clear right now. You are not crazy, you are chosen. You're part of the few who see through the illusions that others are still enslaved to. While the world worships appearances, you were born to decode energies. While others rely on what's said, you trust what's felt, and that difference is your greatest power. And it's also why people don't know how to deal with you. You know things you shouldn't know. You sense what they thought was hidden. You feel what they don't even understand within themselves. And you've made peace with that knowing, even if they haven't. The truth is, your existence challenges everything they are trying to protect. The masks they wear, the lies they live, the stories they tell themselves to feel safe in their comfort zones. You are a threat, not because you intend to be, but because your presence reflects what they are not yet ready to become. They can't stop watching you. They can't stop wondering how you move like you do, why you always seem to be one step ahead, why your peace is so unshakable. And the answer is simple: you remembered. You remembered who you are. You remembered why you're here. You remembered the power that lives within you. If this message is speaking to your soul, drop a 77 in the comments. Let the universe know you're awake. Let the other chosen ones know they are not alone. This is your confirmation. They thought you weren't watching. They underestimated you, not because you were weak, but because you were silent. Not because you were clueless, but because you were strategic. In a world that equates noise with relevance, your quiet unsettled them. They assumed you weren't paying attention, that you didn't notice the shift in tone when your name came up in the room, that you missed the subtle looks exchanged when you walked away, that you had no clue how they rewrote the truth in your absence, playing games and disguising agendas as friendly concern. But they were wrong. You noticed everything. The truth is, you were always watching, always listening, always reading between the lines they never imagined you could decode. They thought you were naive, easy to manipulate, easy to sideline. But what they didn't realize is that while they were busy plotting in the physical, you were seeing from the spiritual. Every lie felt like static in your energy field. Every fake smile carried a vibration you couldn't ignore. You saw through them with an ease that scared even you at times. And so you stayed silent, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, because not every truth needs to be spoken. Some truths are too sharp, too pure, too divine to be wasted in confrontations that wouldn't change anything. You kept your awareness to yourself, not because you didn't care, but because you didn't need to prove that you knew. And now, the energy has shifted. They're realizing they miscalculated. They're beginning to panic as they trace your movements backward and find the evidence of your awareness etched into every interaction. The way you pulled back at just the right moment. The way you shifted course before their trap could be sprung. The way you spoke words that pierced deeper than you should have known how to. It's dawning on them now, you saw it all. And worse, you still do. Unspoken awareness you carry. It's the part of you that no one can put into words. The quiet fire behind your eyes. The stillness that feels heavy with meaning. The way your presence demands more than casual interaction. It calls for authenticity. And that makes people uncomfortable. You carry a frequency that doesn't match the noise of this world. While most are busy broadcasting their opinions, seeking approval, and rushing to be heard, you're tuned into something else entirely. You listen. You feel, you perceive. And it's not just emotional intelligence. It's energetic fluency. You read energy the way others read headlines. You speak a language that isn't taught in schools or passed down through family traditions. It comes from the stars, from the silence between heartbeats, from the source itself. You've walked through enough darkness to develop a vision that pierces veils. You've sat in silence long enough to hear what's never said aloud. People can feel that about you. Even if they can't name it, they sense the depth, the edge, the clarity, and for many that clarity is unnerving because it reveals, it disarms, it sees past the facades they've worked so hard to uphold. Some are drawn to your awareness like moths to a flame, hoping to bask in your light. Others recoil, afraid of what you might see if you look too closely. But your knowing isn't meant to harm, it's meant to awaken. Still, most aren't ready for that kind of awakening. So they label you intense, mysterious, odd. They avoid your gaze not because you're judging them, but because they're afraid you've already judged them and found them wanting. What they don't know is that your awareness comes with compassion. You've seen your own shadows and loved yourself through them. That's why you're able to hold space for truth without condemning those still hiding from it. Your awareness isn't just unspoken, it's sacred. And the more you embody it, the more undeniable it becomes. Your intuition makes them nervous. It's not what you say, it's what you sense. The way your presence alone seems to unravel people's defenses, pull at the threads of their contradictions, and force them to confront truths they've buried under convenience and denial. They don't know how to explain it. They just know that when they are around you, they feel exposed. Not because you're harsh, but because your intuition is disarming, because it's accurate, because it's effortless. You've walked into situations and instantly known what no one dared to speak. You've looked someone in the eye and felt the pain they are pretending doesn't exist. You've turned down opportunities that others would chase simply because something didn't feel right, and then watched as the situation collapsed, just as your spirit warned. They call it coincidence. They tell themselves you're lucky, but deep down they know it's more than that. It's discernment, it's divine timing, it's soul vision. Your intuition isn't just strong, it's surgical. It cuts through lies, distractions, and illusions with stunning precision, and it leaves people shook. Because in a world that celebrates the mind and dismisses the spirit, you're walking proof that the unseen is more powerful than the visible. They don't know how you knew what you knew. They can't understand why your instincts are always a step ahead, but they feel the impact. Every time you make a move that defies logic but yields perfect results. Every time you speak a truth that lands like lightning. Every time you stay silent and yet your energy says everything. Your intuition is not something you turned on overnight. It was forged in fire, through pain, betrayal, solitude, and spiritual training that no institution could offer. It was earned. And now that you walk in it confidently, they're terrified. Because while they fumble with facts and impressions, you walk in inner knowing. And they know deep down you're not guessing, you're guided. Your presence disrupts their illusions. There's something about you that unsettles the carefully constructed lies people tell themselves. You walk into a room and suddenly everything feels sharper, more fragile, as if the very air carries a truth that refuses to be ignored. It's not because you're confrontational or dramatic. It's because your energy refuses to lie. While others spend their days playing roles, saying what's expected, reacting out of fear, you simply are. And your being, your raw, unfiltered, authentic presence, is enough to collapse the fragile scaffolding of illusion that so many have built their lives upon. They're not used to someone who doesn't need approval to feel whole. They're not prepared for someone who doesn't chase attention, but commands it effortlessly. Your refusal to engage in the petty politics of image maintenance is an act of quiet rebellion, and it exposes how much of their identity depends on external validation. You don't flatter, you don't fake agreement, you don't adjust your truth to fit someone else's comfort zone, and in doing so, you become a mirror, not of who they think they are, but of who they are avoiding becoming. Your presence doesn't just walk into a space, it rearranges it. People stumble over their words, second-guess their thoughts, and feel that strange sense of being seen, not just looked at. Because you see through masks. You've worn them before, you've discarded them, and now your authenticity acts like a spotlight, one they didn't ask for but can't escape. You're not trying to change them, but your existence calls them higher. And that's the most disruptive truth of all. They can't understand your timing. To them, your decisions don't make sense. The way you move with precision, speak with timing, exit just before collapse, enter just as momentum builds, they can't explain it. You're not operating on the same clock as the rest of the world. You're tuned to divine timing, and it frustrates those who rely on predictability to feel in control. You'll turn down opportunities others beg for, only to walk into something greater weeks later. You'll walk away from relationships that appear perfect on paper, only to align with something soul-deep and timeless. While others plan based on trends, data, and external advice, you move by instinct, and that instinct has a 100% accuracy rate. They try to rationalize it, call it luck, coincidence, or a gut feeling, but the truth is more powerful than that. You're not guessing, you're aligned. You've surrendered to something higher than logic, and now you're carried by currents they can't see. And that unnerves them, because it forces them to confront the fact that their overthinking, overplanning, and overcontrolling are yielding nothing close to your results. You're not just avoiding chaos, you're anticipating it. You're not just showing up at the right place, you're called there. And every time they watch you land on your feet, while they're still trying to figure out where the ground is, their respect for you grows, even if their ego won't admit it. You don't wait for perfect conditions, you respond to sacred instruction. You don't need 10 confirmations to act, you move when your soul says it's time. And while they scramble for explanations, you keep flowing forward, unbothered, unstoppable, and on time. They study you in secret. They may not like to admit it, but they're watching. Closely, quietly, obsessively, every word you say, every choice you make, every post you share, every silence you hold, it's under examination. To the untrained eye, they seem indifferent, but you've always felt it. The glances that linger too long, the awkward pauses when you speak, the echo of your ideas showing up in their actions weeks later. They want to know your secret. How do you carry such clarity? How do you speak with such conviction? How do you know things before they unfold? And the truth is, they've built their private theories around you. Some say you're psychic. Some say you have connections. Some whisper about past lives, divine gifts, or hidden power. But what they fail to realize is this: you've earned your insight through the fire. You've been broken and rebuilt more times than they can count. You've wept on the floor of your own becoming. You've fasted in the wilderness of solitude, facing every shadow they still run from. Your wisdom wasn't handed to you, it was carved into you through experience, silence, and surrender. But rather than ask, they speculate. Rather than learn, they imitate. They think if they copy your posture, your vocabulary, your spiritual language, they'll gain your essence. But essence cannot be faked. It must be embodied. They don't realize that the power they admire in you is buried within them too, but it requires humility, discipline, and courage to unearth. And until they accept that truth, they'll continue watching you like a mystery they are too afraid to solve. Because deep down they know what you have is not performance. It's presence, not knowledge, knowing, and no amount of study can replicate that. You've grown beyond their version of you. There was a time when they thought they had you figured out. You were the quiet one, the sensitive one, the helper, the one who never caused trouble. They put labels on you like price tags, assuming they knew your worth. But what they didn't realize was that you were still evolving, still remembering, still becoming. And now they're looking at you with confusion, disbelief, and for some, subtle fear, because you no longer fit the version of you they created in their minds. The old you tolerated nonsense. The new you walks away in silence. The old you apologized for your boundaries. The new you enforces them with love and no explanation. The old you dimmed your light to keep them comfortable. The new you shines without permission, and they don't know how to respond. They call it a change when it's really a revelation. You haven't changed, you've emerged. You're finally embodying what was always there beneath the layers of people-pleasing and social programming. And because they haven't grown with you, they can't access you. It's not personal. It's energetic. You're not operating from ego or spite. You've simply elevated past the conversations, dynamics, and cycles that once defined you. And that's hard for some to accept. They try to pull you back, guilt you into shrinking, remind you of your place, but that place no longer exists. You outgrew it the moment you realized your worth wasn't tied to their comfort. And now you're moving in spaces they can't follow, walking paths they never imagined you'd find. Let them talk. Let them question. Let them misunderstand. You don't owe them an explanation. Your growth speaks louder than any defense ever could. You didn't leave them behind. You just refused to stay behind yourself. And that is evolution. Your mystery is magnetic. They won't say it out loud, but your mystery draws them in like gravity. It's the quiet strength you carry, the unbothered energy, the way you walk into a space and shift the atmosphere without saying a word. You don't advertise your journey, but somehow everyone feels it. You don't explain your decisions, yet people are intrigued by every move you make. You're not loud, but you're unforgettable. And that's what confuses them. How can someone who gives so little away command so much attention? The truth is, it's not what you show that makes you magnetic. It's what you withhold, the depth they sense but can't access, the wisdom that flickers behind your eyes, the way your silence says more than their entire vocabulary. You don't reveal everything you know, not out of arrogance, but out of discipline, because you understand the sacredness of what lives within you. You don't perform for approval. You don't seek to be understood by those who haven't done the work to understand themselves. And so they watch, they speculate, they make up stories in their minds, trying to grasp your essence through the filters of their own limitations. But you remain unbothered, because you know that your power was never meant to be fully decoded. It was meant to activate, to stir something ancient in others, to awaken forgotten parts of their own soul. Your mystery isn't an illusion. It's the result of inner clarity. You know who you are. You've made peace with what they still run from. You've embraced the unknown instead of fearing it. And now you have become the unknown they fear and admire at the same time. That tension, the mix of awe and discomfort, is the proof of your frequency. You're not confusing. You're expansive. They just haven't caught up. You don't chase, you attract. You stopped running after people, opportunities, approval, or explanations. You stopped pouring energy into places that couldn't hold it, not because you gave up, but because you woke up. You realized that what is meant for you will never require self-abandonment, and that shift changed everything. While others are busy pushing, persuading, and proving, you rest in alignment. You operate from truth, not desperation. You know that energy speaks louder than words, and what you radiate will find its way back to you in the right form at the right time. You don't beg for seats at tables that weren't built with you in mind. You build your own. You don't chase relationships hoping someone will see your worth. You embody that worth and watch who shows up with the eyes to recognize it. And the results speak for themselves. Your presence attracts what matches your frequency. It pulls in connections, ideas, opportunities, and breakthroughs that feel like divine timing because they are. You're no longer interested in anything that comes from force. Your life is now about flow. You understand that anything requiring you to shrink, plead, or exhaust yourself is not a blessing, it's a warning. And while the world continues to hustle for attention, you've become magnetic through stillness. You don't chase, you align, you don't force, you attract, you don't convince, you allow. And that is the ultimate power. They may not understand how you manifest so easily, how doors open before you knock, how clarity finds you without overthinking. But that's because they're still trying to control what you've already surrendered. You've become the evidence of what happens when a soul remembers its worth. And that radiance, it's irresistible. The truth they are afraid to admit. They won't say it to your face, but behind closed doors, in the quiet corners of their own minds, they know. They know you're different, not because you act like it, but because you are. They feel it every time you enter a room, every time you speak truth that cuts through the fog, every time your calm disarms their chaos. What they are afraid to admit is that you see them, not just who they pretend to be, but who they are beneath the performance. You reflect what they've buried, and that reflection is terrifying, because it means their games don't work on you. Their charm doesn't manipulate you. Their lies don't confuse you. You see too clearly, you feel too deeply. You carry too much truth in your bones, and rather than face that truth, they label you intimidating, cold, detached, too much. But the truth is, they're not ready to own what your presence makes obvious, not ready to rise to the level you've reclaimed, not ready to admit that your growth has outpaced their comfort zone, and that realization stings. So they pretend you've changed. They spread stories, they rewrite the past. They distance themselves while claiming you're the one who walked away. But you know the truth. You didn't reject them, you just stopped dimming yourself to be digestible. You stopped explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. And now they're left with a truth they can't ignore. You were never who they thought you were. You were always more intuitive, more discerning, more awake. And their fear isn't about you. It's about what they see in themselves when they look at you. You are the proof that becoming more is possible, and they don't know whether to run from it or run toward it. That's their journey now, not yours. You're living proof it's possible. You are what so many still hope to become, not because your life is perfect or without struggle, but because you chose to transform rather than stay small. Because you turned pain into purpose, silence into strength, intuition into direction. You didn't just talk about healing, you did the work. You faced the shadows, sat with the discomfort, unlearned what the world told you about your worth, and remembered who you were before the world tried to make you forget. And now you walk with a peace that cannot be faked. You carry a knowing that can't be taught. You emit a light that doesn't ask for attention, it simply shines, and people see that. Whether they admit it or not, they feel the shift. You are the embodiment of what's possible when someone stops waiting for permission and starts trusting their soul. You didn't escape the system by chance, you outgrew it. You chose the road of becoming, of alignment, of divine unfolding. You chose authenticity over approval, clarity over chaos, truth over comfort. And it shows. You're not just a person. They see you as a signal, a living message that it's possible to live from truth and not fear, to walk in power without dominance, to be deeply spiritual and fully human. You are the reminder that evolution is not a myth, it's a decision. And you made it. You took the leap. You crossed the threshold. And now you walk ahead not to boast, but to lead. To show those still asleep that there is more to life than survival, more than the script, more than the lie. You are the proof that awakening is real, that liberation is internal, and that destiny is not given, it's claimed. They can't stop talking about you. They watch your movements, measure your silence, analyze your timing, not because you seek attention, but because your presence commands reflection. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be felt. You're not here to follow paths, you're here to redefine them. And whether they love you, fear you, admire you, or misunderstand you, one truth remains: your knowing is real, your power is divine, and your transformation is irreversible. The more you rise, the more others are forced to choose, evolve or stay stuck. You've stopped shrinking, stopped explaining, stopped waiting. You've become a living portal of what's possible. And that's why they can't stop talking, because deep in their soul, they want to believe the same is possible for them. You've awakened, and now the universe uses your life as a beacon. So if this message stirred something inside you, drop a 77 in the comments and let the world know you've remembered who you are. Like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with another chosen one who needs to be reminded of their power. And if you feel led to support this channel and help this message reach more souls, tap that super thanks button and sow into this mission. We're building something sacred here, something timeless. And you are proof that it's working. Keep rising, keep remembering, and never forget, you know more than you let on, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be.